President Trump is going to continue in this vein, defining deviancy down and pushing the limits of our laws and norms until the American people tell him that it's time to stop.
The current calls by Republicans in Congress to unredact even more of this application, obviously they're trying to create political pressure and even potentially pressure from the White House to expose even more of this application. I just wanted to ask your reaction to that, and whether I'm right in reading this as a layman to suggest or to wonder if any further redactions would just result in more evidence that Carter Page was a foreign agent.
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First, I think you are right that these applications already substantially undermine the president's narrative and that of his proxies. And it seems to me very likely that if we get below the tip of the iceberg into the submerged parts and more is revealed, it's going to get worse, not better. But it would also potentially be dangerous to disclose additional information, because some of this obviously pertains to ongoing investigative activity and intelligence sources and methods, and that's why the government kept the information back, which means that we're going to be in a posture of asymmetric political warfare, with the president free to make up whatever facts suit him, and the FBI limited in what it can say in response because of its obligation to protect its sources and methods.
Before I let you go, I have to ask you the other question on the minds of many people, I think some of our viewers, based on what I understand. Do you view the way this indictment is written as the last chapter, the last indictment in this case, or a preview of more to come?
Oh, I do not think it is the last chapter at all. I think it is, what Mueller is doing here is following standard procedure, which is, in these kinds of complex investigations, to start with the outer ring, the low-hanging fruit, the readily provable stuff, and then work your way in towards the bullseye. So I'm willing to bet that President Trump and his closest associates right now are and probably should be worried that depending on what the evidence is, in the next round of activity, the walls may feel like they're closing in.
Well, David, I know you to be a careful prosecutor and speaker, so that is particularly notable coming from you, with the caveats that I know you would bring to any forward-looking statement, but the notion of the walls closing in and there being other indictments, certainly something on many people's minds and maybe many people inside the White House. David Kris, former Assistant Attorney General for National Security, thank you so much for your time tonight.
What do you make of the president standing next to Vladimir Putin as he talked about Bill Browder and talked about David prosecuting Bill Browder and then talking about George Soros and maybe illegal contributions that went to Hillary Clinton's campaign? What do you make of the president of the United States standing by the dictator from Russia and just allowing him to make these allegations and allowing them to go unchecked?
It is a genuinely stunning development to see the President of the United States taking the word and essentially taking the side of Vladimir Putin over that of his own intelligence community, the U.S. Department of Justice, and both the House and Senate Intelligence Committees. I don't know why he's doing it. Perhaps he has an affinity for foreign strongmen like Vladimir Putin, or perhaps he's embarrassed that Putin helped him win the election, or maybe it's something even more nefarious. But what's very clear now, I think, is that President Trump is going to continue in this vein, defining deviancy down and pushing the limits of our laws and norms until the American people tell him that it's time to stop. President Trump is going to continue in this vein, defining deviancy down and pushing the limits of our laws and norms until the American people tell him that it's time to stop.